The scent hit me the moment she walked through the door. It wasn't the generic floral perfume she usually favored, it was my cologne, the one I'd been wearing for years. "Welcome home," I managed, the words feeling like shards of glass in my throat. "How was the trip?" Sarah, my wife of 7 years, plastered on a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Amazing. We had so much fun, you wouldn't believe." She dropped her weekend bag with a thud, the sound jarring against the unnerving silence that had settled between us. The girls' trip, as she called it, had always felt a little off. The late-night whispers, the hushed phone calls, the way she'd avoid my eyes when I asked about the details. Now, the cloying scent of my own cologne was the final, damning piece of the puzzle. I tried to act normal, a charade I was quickly growing tired of. "Glad you had fun," I said, forcing a smile. "Dinner's almost ready." I watched her move around our kitchen, a place we had built together, a sanctuary now tainted by her deception. Her movements, once familiar and comforting, now felt foreign, like the actions of a stranger wearing my wife's face. Dinner was a strained affair. We made small talk about mundane things, the weather, work, the leaky faucet in the bathroom, anything to avoid the elephant in the room. I could feel the knot in my stomach tightening with each passing minute. The image of her, wrapped in another man's arms, fueled a rage I'd never known existed. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but something held me back. A strange sense of grim determination, a need to collect every single piece of evidence before I unleashed the storm. After dinner, while she was unpacking her things, I excused myself and went to our closet. It was my sanctuary, a neatly organized space where my things had their place, a mirror to my own structured mind. I wasn't expecting anything, really. I just needed to get away from her, to breathe. But when I opened the door, I found it. Tucked away in the back corner, partially obscured by a pile of her winter scarves, was a man's jacket. Not just any jacket, a dark, expensive leather one with a faint, yet recognizable scent, sandalwood and something metallic, like old coins. It was a smell that wasn't mine. My hands trembled as I pulled it out, the weight of it heavier than I could have imagined. The world tilted on its axis. It was like someone had pulled the rug out from under me. This wasn't just a gut feeling anymore, it was tangible proof of her betrayal. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. I stumbled back, the jacket falling from my grasp. I stared at it, my vision blurring with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. This jacket, this thing that belonged to another man, was proof that everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. I felt myself go numb. I didn't cry, didn't shout. Just sat there on the floor, my back against the closet door, the weight of her betrayal crushing me. I didn't move for a long time, letting the numbness wash over me. It was better than the sharp, burning pain of betrayal. I needed a plan. The next day was a blur. I went through the motions of my life, went to work, answered emails, even laughed at a coworker's joke, but all the while, a cold fury burned within me. I pretended everything was normal, gathering evidence, piecing together the puzzle. She seemed oblivious to the storm brewing inside me, blissfully unaware of the trap she had walked into. She even started a fight about the laundry, about how I always mix the darks and the lights. The following Saturday, I told her I had to work late. I spent the afternoon at the gym, channeling my rage into a grueling workout. I needed to be strong, not just physically, but emotionally. I needed to be clear-headed. When the sun began to set, I parked my car a few blocks from her office. I knew he was going to be there. She always worked late on Saturdays. I waited, hidden in the shadows, my eyes fixated on the building entrance. I recognized him the moment he stepped out, tall, arrogant, with a swagger that made my stomach churn. The same leather jacket was draped over his shoulder. He looked like the kind of man who thought he could have anything he wanted. I wanted to knock that arrogance right off his face. I approached him, my steps deliberate and steady. "Excuse me," I said, my voice calm, but with a hard edge that made him stop in his tracks. "I believe you have something that belongs to my wife." He turned, a smirk playing on his lips. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think you do," I said, pulling a photo from my pocket. It was a picture I'd found buried deep in her phone, a selfie of them, her face flushed with excitement, his arm wrapped possessively around her. The smirk vanished, replaced with a look of dawning panic. "See this jacket? My wife seems to have developed a fondness for your things. Which makes me wonder, what else do you have that's mine? His eyes darted around, searching for an escape. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Let's not waste any time, shall we? I grabbed him by the collar, yanking him into the alleyway. The fight was quick, brutal, and cathartic. Each punch I landed was a release, a symphony of rage and pain that echoed in the narrow space. He didn't put up much of a fight, whimpering and flailing like a child. I pummeled him, not stopping until my knuckles were scraped raw and he was lying on the ground, gasping for air. The look on his face was priceless. Gone was the arrogance, the cockiness, replaced with a raw, terrified plea for mercy. Stay away from my wife, I growled, each word laced with venom. Or you'll regret it. I tossed his phone on the ground, smashing it to pieces with my shoe. I left him there, a broken mess, his world crashing down around him, a mirror of what he had done to mine. When I got home, Sarah was on the couch, watching some insipid reality show. She glanced up when I walked in, a look of mild annoyance on her face. Where were you? I was worried. Really? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. You were worried? I walked into the bedroom, pulled her suitcase out of the closet, and dumped it on the bed. Look closely, Sarah. Look at what's inside and tell me you don't recognize the jacket. She turned pale, her eyes wide with panic. I tossed the photograph of her and him onto the bed as well. And this? Care to explain this? She tried to lie, stammering about how it was just a friend, a colleague, a misunderstanding. But her lies were like flimsy walls, easily torn down with the weight of the truth. I watched her face fall, the mask of innocence finally slipping to reveal the ugly truth of her deception. I'm done, I said, my voice calm despite the storm raging within me. I want you out, tonight. She started to cry, begging, pleading, promising it would never happen again. But I was done with her tears, her lies, her manipulations. I was finally free. I watched her pack, her movements frantic, her eyes red and swollen. I didn't offer to help, didn't offer a single word of comfort. She deserved nothing. I watched her walk out of the door, a pathetic figure, defeated and exposed. As she left, I felt a strange sense of peace. The anger was still there, but it was no longer all-consuming. It was a cold, hard ember of determination. I wouldn't let her define me, her lies shape my future. I had survived her betrayal, had emerged stronger, wiser, and with a renewed understanding of who I am. I picked up the pieces of my life and started to rebuild, stone by stone, stronger than ever before. And in the silence of my empty house, I knew, deep in my heart, that I was finally free.